Hey guys, Scripture here with another video, episode 5, Skeleton Crew. Sorry I didn't get to this earlier, obviously with festivities, family times, all those things, and this show is not exactly like, you're not scheduling around it, we'll put it that way. So, anyways, let's get into this. If you don't know by now, kids lost in space, pirates are after them, they're trying to find their home planet, and they haven't found it yet. And they're on another planet that was similar to their home planet, and I guess now we're back on, this is their home planet, probably their parents talking or whatever. Anyways, let's take a look. You know, it just dawned on me too, on the planet that's like their planet, like of those, there's like 9 planets, they're like all the same kind of thing, architecturally, everything. On the planet they went to, that like, it looked like it's completely run down, it's basically abandoned, there's like tribal warfare going on, whatever, but everything's run down, and there were all of these large, almost like satellite's the wrong word, like these large orb-shaped ships orbiting the planet, which I assume is part of the whole barrier thing. But we didn't see those when the kids left their planet. We didn't see those, they just left. So that's another question I have as to how that makes any sense, because if those guys are around, they're responsible for preventing ships from coming and going and keeping the planet secret. Where were they? So the elephant kid's mom, Neil, shows up to talk to the Will? Was it Will? Anyway, the kid with the afro, his dad, and she gives him this USB thing so he can find access codes to the barrier. And then he's doing it, and he's finding the access code, and the droid sees him and starts walking over. He pulls the USB thing out. The droid obviously knows he's hiding something, catches him, brings the USB thing that he wasn't supposed to have, that was a breach, up to this office, throws it on the desk and says that, you know, that's this illegal item or whatever. And then it turns out the lady in charge of the whole place is Fern's mom. Fern's mom literally says that he said, should I report this to whatever? And she's like, no, just erase it from your memory and shut down. So if she has that much power that she can just tell droids to forget about illegal crap that just went down, why doesn't she just get the codes? Or just tell the droids to go away for 10 minutes while he gets the codes? If she has that power, what is this big suspenseful thing that's going on? It just doesn't make much sense. Okay, so it was a signal they wanted to send out to their kids that wasn't going to be anything specific. They had to get a barrier code to send a signal. And then she gets all mad at him, like, oh, what are you doing? I told you to wait. And he's like, well, nothing's happening. But again, I go back to it. If she has the power to do something about it, then do something about it. I don't know. This is just kind of weird. Okay, so then they power up the droid after they have him all tied up, because last episode he went mental because he like freaks out if somebody brings up Ad-Atten, the planet the kids are trying to get home to. And they try to power him up this time, and I guess this time he's like, he's not freaking out. I don't know what they did exactly, but he's all scrambly and weird. So he's basically a plot device to slowly reveal the plot, because the way that he kind of changes, it doesn't really make much sense, because he's a droid and he's programmed to be a certain way. They use the excuse that he's been messed around with or whatever, but it's a little strange. But whatever. And he tells them that his captain was this super famous pirate captain, and this is his ship, and Jude Law is now getting all hot and bothered over it, about how great it is. Okay, so then kind of out of nowhere, so like this kid was like the most optimistic of the bunch and seemed to really be enjoying the adventure. And then he just kind of out of nowhere here, like there wasn't any lead up to him just being like, oh, I'm scared and I miss my mom and dad and blah, 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 blah. There just wasn't really, it just kind of happened. It was like, oh, okay. So Jude Law's character talks to him and tells him to let go, to not have attachments, you know, like a Jedi would. This kid's all about Jedi, right? And then he tells him your focus will become your reality, which is, of course, the line that Qui-Gon Jinn says to Anakin. And so you're like, okay, so this guy's clearly a Jedi. Then he moves his iPad with his mind, so he's clearly a Jedi at this point. And so you're kind of wondering, like, is he talking to this kid like this because he senses the Force in him in some way? That would be okay, actually. I don't like that Jude Law is a Jedi in the sense that it's just another Jedi that survived Order 66, and it's every single show has to have one. And there's so many of them, it's getting kind of redundant at this point. But this kid wasn't around for that. He's a kid. He was on a secret planet somewhere else. So him being Force sensitive is at least a little kind of cooler than just another Jedi survived Order 66 kind of thing. So, but anyway, so it's pretty obvious he's a Jedi now, and he's using Jedi trained lines and this and that and the other thing. Okay, so then they land on this like resort planet, and they get hailed by two ships. We never do see the inside of those ships. We just see them beside them, but they tell them that this is an adults only pleasure, whatever, vacation spot. But this guy, the droid is convinced the treasure that guy, the pirate was hiding is underneath one of these mountains. So now you're thinking, oh, is it underneath this one where this particular resort has been built now? Because again, you got to think it's thousands of years ago. So anyway, they're going to park, and then the kids have to stay in the ship. I guess we'll figure out what happens here. I'm assuming that the trailer, the scene where you see all the golden crap and the head and everything, is probably that treasure in that chamber, which is probably underneath this mountain, I'm guessing, but whatever, we'll see. Okay, so then he dresses the kids up and calls them the elders of whatever. But I'm like, didn't the planet just hail them and they heard that there were kids and told them no kids were allowed? So wouldn't this woman be a little suspicious that all these little people are coming out of there? Like, don't they communicate with the people hailing those landing? They obviously do, because she's there to greet them. I mean, I know it's a kid show and it's going to be somewhat childish, but it still can make some sense. Like, kids aren't just dumb idiots, right? So, a little weird, right? Like, why did they go through that whole scene? Why didn't they just have them land without the kids being heard on the hailing frequency, and then do this? And then it would make more sense, because they don't know there's kids on the ship, right? But no, they did that for reasons I don't understand. Okay, so then the droid realizes it is Skull Ridge Mountain and they ruined it. So yes, it's going to be under there. And yes, it's going to be that treasure room that was in the trailer. The other thing you notice is the top right-hand corner of this building looks like something has happened to it. If you look at the windows, in the top right-hand corner, it looks like that window's been blasted through compared to the top left-hand corner. There's like a beam cut. So what is that about? I also just wanted to mention Disney's been doing a lot of like vacation planets and pleasure planets. In Andor, we had that resort he was at. The planet with Lizzo and Jack Black was basically, a pleasure planet. I mean, not exactly, but I don't know. And then there's this one, and there was another one I'm trying to remember too. There's just a lot of this. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the rugged edge of Star Wars has kind of been completely removed from a lot of these shows, especially when you do something like this. It's just kind of like... And this show does have a little bit of that. Like, stuff is dirty, stuff is beat up, stuff is, it's rugged. It's corny in a lot of ways, but it is rugged. And this type of stuff just, I don't know. It just doesn't fit with Star Wars for me very well. It's not a huge deal. She said, what was your reservation under? And he pays her off with some credits to let them in. Okay, and some bounty hunter that he ripped off, whatever, says something to him. Tells the kids not to trust him, and then walks away, and is probably going to call other pirates or other people now because they know he's there. It's kind of predictable. I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see. So yeah, she alerted the pirates, which... everybody knew. Okay, so they're gonna come here now. No kids allowed, and they're not even in their costumes anymore. What is going on? Jude Law gets caught because the guy recognizes his name and is like, I don't think that's him, so he runs away. And the kids that never wore a disguise just walk through the spa, and now they're underneath it, I guess. And there was a couple of muns. I don't know if you noticed, sitting in the mud. Someone tweeted that. Oh man, whatever, it's fine. The banking clan was there. So they found the symbol on this stone, whatever, table. And Catholips is like this big octopus looking thing. Anyways, he's pretty tame. And he says he'd helped him in exchange for entertaining him. So Fern was telling him stories. Shmi went and got the other three who just got in a little fight or whatever with the guards and got out of it. So now they just opened the treasure room, I'm guessing. We'll see. There might maybe be some booby traps. All right, so the pirates have arrived and they just shoot down the hailing ships. The kids in Jude Law only dealt with 2 booby traps. There was the one that beheads you if you step on the button, and then they had to figure out a way to get the acid to drain out of the pool, which they just threw a bunch of money in there. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was pretty quick, and then the pirates catch up to them right as they get into the chamber with all the treasure in it. It could have been more. It could have been a little more difficult. Could have had a couple more booby traps. The third one we see is found by one of the guards. It was kind of cool. It's kind of Star Wars-y. Like, it was just sort of like this thing that levitates you up into a bunch of spikes that you can't see until you're right there. The concept of what they did here is not bad. There's just these little flaws that they keep throwing in, little nonsensical things, or things that just are anticlimactic. And so it's kind of meh. It's just meh. So they figure out how to access the captain's data port, and it was kind of cool. It was like a little piece of chicken that looked fresh when all the other food was rotten, and the chair was booby-trapped. Little Raiders of the Lost Ark-ish looking, but I mean, everything in this show is sort of very overtly drawing off other things in no subtle fashion at all. So they got that. The pirates are at the door slamming it, and Wim found a lightsaber sitting on a little glowy pedestal. So that's another kind of interesting thing. We'll see what happens with that. So they find the coordinates to Ad-Aten, and the droid accesses the system and puts the acid back in the pool. You hear all the pirates yelling, and the kids are like, oh my gosh. So they watch this recording of the captain talking about how the treasure at Ad-Aten is a mint. So an old Republic mint. So they can basically just print money. So then Fern's like, are you still going to hold the deal? Are you going to take your reward to get us home? And then he says, I want to be the captain. We have to fight. And she's like, instead of yielding, she actually tries to fight him, which is super dumb. So what? So like, why would she care if he uses the mint? This is some of the issues. Like, so what? Like, if he's like, oh, I want to just take over the mint. Okay, you got us home. What do I care about this stupid mint? But for some reason, she put herself on the line so that he would get a reasonable reward instead of the mint or the control of it or whatever. So it's a little bit muddled, and even Jude Law's character, like, for him to be that intense with the kids, like, it doesn't really fit with where he's been. It's kind of like the change in Wim that happens just sort of like a snap of the fingers. This feels the same way. There's not a lot of lead up for him to be behaving like this. Okay, that was actually pretty good. Like, I like that. He didn't have any idea what he was doing, and so the lightsaber was upside down. Again, there's certain little things like that they do in the show that's pretty good. I'm still just totally puzzled as to why this is even happening. Like, this seems totally unnecessary and over the top, but whatever. Okay, and then again, for some reason, Jod, who's Jude Law's character, I keep forgetting his name because he's got 15 names in the show. For some reason, again, he orders Shmi to tie up the kids. They're arrested on charges of mutinous intent. What is the purpose of this? You're not accomplishing anything. The only thing I can think of is he just wants to get them out of the way, right? He wants them to be out of his way, and he's just going to go to Ad-Aten by himself. Which, okay, maybe the logic there is that he doesn't want them to tell their parents what he's up to with this mint or whatever. Okay, fine. So he's actually a villain and kind of a piece of crap. And that's super disappointing. This is not the way the Jedi behave, right? So this is not something a Jedi would do. So he is a Jedi, but he's not a Jedi. He's a nothing. You don't know what he is. You know, he's got some understanding of the code. He can clearly use the Force, but he's not following the way they are at all. Certainly you wouldn't do that to kids. That's the whole thing with Anakin and the kids and everything. You don't just do that. But then at the very end, Wim they were all huddled around that stool. Remember I said the booby trap stool by the roasted turkey or whatever the heck it was. And he pushes the button and they all fall down. And then the episode ends with Jude Law's character turning on the lightsaber. Yeah, so that's it. We don't know. We don't know what he is. Is he a gray Jedi? I know that's, something people are into. It's not George Lucas Star Wars, but that's what people are into, is the gray. A little bit of dark side, turns you dark. Anger, fear, any of that selfishness, you're going dark. So maybe he's a dark sider. Maybe he's actually bad. That'd be an interesting twist. Overall, it's not terrible, but it's not really good either. It's just kind of meh. It's a meh. There's a couple nonsensical things, better than a couple of the other episodes. This is like a 4 or 5 maybe. It's just a meh. It's just, 4 or 5 out of 10. I don't despise it. I don't particularly like it either. It just kind of is. There's a few things I liked. I liked when they put the acid back in. I thought it was funny when Wim turned on the lightsaber the wrong way. But again, there were some other nonsensical things with the spa and the way they handled things, and it's just, anyways, we've been over it. So, it's whatever. It's just a whatever show. I mean, it's just whatever. I don't even know how to say anything other than that. So let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like this content, please like, subscribe. Always helps the channel. Feel free to check anything else in my channel. Have yourselves a really good day.